one of those things, like you see it from the beach and you're like, yeah, it looks big, but this is going to be cool. And then the closer you get, the more you're just like, holy shit, this thing is huge.
September 2020 will be remembered as some of the best surf to hit the spectacular north coast of the Dominican Republic ever. The swells were non-stop and the waves were amazing, thanks to the formations of tropical storms Renee, Vicky, Wilfred, and Beta, subtropical storm Alpha, and hurricanes Nana, Paulette, and Sally. But it was the mighty Hurricane Teddy that will go down in history. This storm coincided with the peak of the hurricane season and the development of La Nina conditions.
We saw this swell coming, the Teddy storm, and it was, I think, a lot of hype in the Atlantic. Everyone was like, wow, like these storms coming together, it's going to be amazing. But we had a couple of weeks leading into this particular day. We had amazing waves, so everyone was on good form. And then the last couple of days of this swell, we had this sort of finale at Puerto Plata, and Manuel messaged me like late the night before, just saying, hey, look, the swell's looking like it's going to be all time. I'll pick you up at 4:30. So I was like, all right, that's an early morning, but I think it's worth it. So yeah, we drove. We got there when it was dark, and we were trying to look at the peak, see if we could make it out, but it was before sunrise and it was hard. We could hear it, it's so loud, and it was this kind of amazing mystery in our minds, trying to figure out like how big it was just from the sound. And anyway, the sun rose and it kind of revealed this perfectly clean, healing monster. It was hard from where we were standing. It was really difficult to tell. We didn't have a safety crew, but it was too perfect to not go out. So Manuel called a couple of people, Cameron, Andreas, Manuel, one other guy. I was in my mind, I knew it was big, but it was so perfect. I'd never seen such perfect, clean waves of that size. So in my mind, I had to swim out. I didn't have the perfect lens for it, 50mm. Ideally I would have liked a 70-200, but so I could sit more in the channel. But I was really excited. There was a little bit of fear, but I felt safe with the guys I was out with. I had an impact vest, and yeah, I'd never swam at this spot, but if you're ever going to swim at a big wave spot here, this is the one. Like, there is a channel, and the current sucks you straight to the peak. So yeah, Manuel, I paddled out with Manuel and Andreas. Took me a while to get out there, but I just changed the current, and it's one of those things, like you see it from the beach and you're like, yeah, it looks big, but this is going to be cool. And then the closer you get, the more you're just like, holy shit, this thing is huge. And at first, I'll admit, there was fear, but I think that's good. It keeps us alive. I think if there was no fear, it would be kind of weird. But I started quite far out in the channel, and I was getting some cool shots. But I was like, it was a cool perspective. They were nice wide shots. You really got an idea of how clean and how big it was. But I kind of knew that as time went by in the session, I needed to try and edge in a little bit and maybe risk taking a wide set on the head. But quite early on, Cameron and Andreas took off on big waves. It was one of those moments where I took the photo, and I was kind of like, I froze as well as I took it, because I kind of looked up from my camera and I was like, fuck, that's huge. For a moment I should have been taking photos, but I kind of froze. But it was amazing. It was a weird emotion. It was like, there was fear in me, but it was completely overridden by, I felt like so lucky to be witnessing this thing, just clearly performing perfectly. People never see. I was out for 4 hours and I inched myself kind of deeper and deeper, trying to get a particular shot, and you know, I got a couple of cool shots. Weirdly I felt a little bit disappointed when I paddled in. I felt a bit disappointed with myself because I felt like I could have got more in the action, but looking back and looking at the photos, I think I made, you know, wise decisions. I wouldn't have liked to have got really worked by the bigger sets, but a couple of hours in, I did take one of the biggest sets on the head. It was the wider part, so it wasn't quite as heavy, but I was surprised actually, because when you look at it and it looks big and menacing, but it doesn't look like some of these waves you see in other parts of the world where like so much water coming over the lip, you're like, Jesus Christ, that thing's gonna kill me. It doesn't quite look like that, but it is really heavy. Saw some of the best rides I've ever seen in my life. Huge stand tall barrels with just, you could drive a bus through these barrels, you know. One of them spat in my face actually, and it felt like I got hit in the face by a hurricane. The wind was so strong, it was insane. But yeah, after 4 hours I was exhausted, so I was told by the guys, like, hey, like, you got to swim inside, take one on the head, and kind of just take the whitewash in, otherwise you'll get stuck in the current. So I tried to swim inside to take one on the head, but I was exhausted. I just got pulled by the current, and it just whips you out the opposite direction. And at that point I was pretty exhausted, so I just started like heading diagonally for shore, kind of going with the current and going in. And Andreas saw me, and I think I wasn't, you know, I wasn't too panicked. I was just saving my energy and going slow, but he saw me and he's like, hey, look, let me help you. Like, you look like you're in a bit of bother. So he dragged me in, and it was a real struggle getting in actually. I was kicking as hard as I could, he was paddling as hard as he could. And we finally got further enough in to take a couple of the waves on the head and pushed us the last bit. But yeah, I was nailed. That's kind of what it's all about for me as a photographer. It's that balance of danger and excitement contrasted with the beauty that comes with it. For me, that's what inspires me to swim. For me, there needs to be a little bit of risk in it. I'm not suicidal, I don't want to swim out and die, but I also do want to experience something that a lot of people, most people wouldn't put themselves in that position. For For me, that makes me feel alive. Yeah, with this day in particular, yeah, you know, you're scared for your life, of course. You know, it doesn't take much going wrong, and you're on your own out there, and yeah, like, it crosses my mind, and it did cross my mind. But I think that's the most important thing when you're out there. If you allow those feelings of fear to develop into panic, or those thoughts to sort of rule your emotions out there, then you're losing the battle, really, and you're just making it a lot more dangerous. I think you can take the right precautions, and you know you have the strength to swim. It's okay, but for me the beauty outweighed it that day. It was, if it had been a bit windy or a little bit onshore and the sky had been a bit moody, it's amazing how my emotions would have changed. You know, I would have felt really scared. But because it was so perfect and the clarity was so insane, and there was literally not a breath of wind, I don't think, you know? It was like a mirror. It was the weirdest thing, because when the sets weren't coming in, it was like a glass mirror, and then these walls would just rise out of the ocean, but they weren't even rising. You know, the ocean level was going down. Like, that's when you know it's really big. Like, the faces of these waves were sucking, and the water level was just going down into the sort of trough of this wave, and you were kind of sinking as it was sucking it towards you, and this thing just grows and grows and grows and grows, and you can feel yourself like accelerating towards the bottom of the wave with it pulling the water towards you. But it was just such this beautiful machine. It was just like, at one point I should have been terrified, because I saw the lip was coming down, and I knew I needed to go under, but I was caught in this moment of like, wow, this is insane. You know, this is like absolutely perfect. So blue, so powerful, so, you know, hard to put into words. Yeah, it was weird, because instead of thinking like, fuck, I wonder what's going to happen to me here, I was just thinking, this is beautiful, you know. Which was weird. I guess it's a telling kind of moment, but it really wasn't one of fear. It was just like, hey, I feel so lucky to be here, you know.